Hold on, we're off track. Let's try this again, okay? This is the real one, guys. Ooh, I'm kind of nervous. Hello, everybody. Wow, what's up? Long time no see. I am currently in hibernation mode, because normally I have to look like this every day for work, and now I'm on break, so that's why I look like this, taking a break from the shave and all that. We're in the good old bedroom back home, you know, the blue door. Today I wanted to react to this video. I don't usually do a reaction, but this video is called POV, You're a Foreigner Living Alone in Tokyo by the YouTube channel Borrowed Lives and Strange Lives, linked down below. I am a foreigner who has lived alone, not in Tokyo, but in... I studied abroad for like 2.5 semesters. It's a long story, and then I lived alone in Japan for a good long while after that. Cumulative total, 1.5 years? Almost 2 years. So let's react to it. Let's see how this compares to my experience, to the experience of others. Let's see maybe if you're thinking about Japan, you're thinking about moving to Japan, spending some time in Japan, or if you're thinking about what it's like to live in a place as a foreigner, or maybe you are that person. Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's get into some of the highs and the lows along the way. Hopefully this video will highlight it. I don't have a transition for these things. I don't do reaction videos, so let's just start. All right, here we go.
You moved to Tokyo because you're running out of reasons to stay where you are. Back home, you've got a degree that qualifies you for jobs that don't pay rent?
Yeah, housing market. If this is America, housing market's rough for if you're in your 20s. Yeah, it's hard.
And a family that asks when you're going to get serious about life every time you sit down for dinner. So you do what every lost 20-something with a browser and a dream does. You romanticize a country you've never lived in, based entirely on anime, street food reels, and a 30-second clip of someone walking through Shibuya at night.
This happens a lot, but I do think in our day and age, people are starting to come around a little bit more to the counterculture that romanticized versions of countries are not real.
You buy a one-way ticket to Narita with $1,100 in your account. A TEFL certificate you got online in 3 weeks.
A TEFL certificate is a certificate to teach English.
And the unshakable confidence of someone who has absolutely no idea what's about to happen to them.
Now, this is a key trait of somebody in their 20s, and I do think you need it to survive.
The plan is simple. Teach English, learn Japanese, find yourself. 3 goals.
Now, finding yourself may take a lifetime, for the record. That's what people tell me in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and onward. You kind of just keep going, so don't pressure yourself too much. It's going to be okay.
Goals. 0 realistic timelines. Welcome to Tokyo. Population 14 million. Number of people who care that you just arrived, 0. Your first night is...
Tokyo can be characterized by this sort of coldness, and you can feel it on the trains. Everyone is very absorbed in their life, despite being packed very, very close together. It could be deathly quiet on a train that is completely packed with people.
Your first night is spent in a capsule hotel near Shinjuku because you couldn't figure out the apartment rental process from overseas. And
this is true. It is really difficult to read Japanese websites.
And the one place that accepted foreigners without a guarantor wanted 6 months upfront plus a non-refundable gift payment to the landlord called key money.
Yeah, key money sucks, but get a share house. That's what I did. If you're not trying to invest like 6 months in a place, if you don't know if you're willing to invest that much time. Your first mistake here was choosing Tokyo. I'm not going to lie. Tokyo is a great city, but also shouts out to Kyushu. Shouts out to Osaka. I'm a little Osaka biased if you still want something that's a little bit more English friendly.
After 3 days of paperwork, polite rejections, and Google Translate conversations that made you sound like a malfunctioning robot, you find an apartment. It's in Kita Senju, a neighborhood in the northeast that the expat forums describe as authentic, which is code for cheap and far from anything cool.
Don't care about that, dude. My advice is always the closer you can get to normal Japan, the better. Does the town have karaoke? Does it have a cool bar, good restaurants, parks, festivals? Does it have a laundromat down the street? You know, does it have what you need to survive?
The bathroom is a plastic cube that combines the shower, sink, and toilet into one unit so compact that you can technically do all 3 at the same time if you...
I have thought about this. If you are really in a rush, okay, you can be very time efficient.
The English teaching job is at a conversation school called Bright Future Academy. You teach 6 classes a day, 45 minutes each, back to back.
Bro, he's a
with
shachiku.
Students ranging from businessmen who need English for overseas clients to elderly women who just want someone to talk to because their kids stopped visiting.
But that elderly one right there is probably the best student you're going to have, okay? She's going to listen to you. She's going to tell you interesting stories every week. She has had a whole life. Put some spec on that Obachan, okay? I tutored English in Japan for a short while. My favorite student was the Obachan.
The pay is 250,000 yen a month.
Yeah, 90,000 yen is kind of tight. I lived on 50,000 yen of spending money a month for food and everything else. I could do it, but also I was in a small little city, bro. I was in Hirakata, which is halfway between Osaka and Kyoto. It's just kind of a normal city. So if you're in Tokyo, you might have a hard time finding that. But dude, you gotta learn to cook.
In Tokyo, a city where a single melon can cost $50.
Melons are... I know this is weird, but melons are high quality items, okay? Melons are things you give to someone as like a business transaction, as like a thank you gift or something like that, okay? I don't know why we chose melons to do that. I don't know but like why melons, we chose melons. All right, I'll stop. But like melons, there are some nice oranges, strawberries, mangoes that are like really luxury gifts. You're just going to have to get by without buying melons, okay? If you're living in Japan on a tight budget. It is what it is.
You learn to eat at Matsuya, a beef bowl chain where 380 yen buys you a hot meal.
Matsuya's the GOAT. Yoshinoya? Matsuya is where you go when you're broke and you need some comfort food, or if you've been out all night and you need some comfort food at like 5 in the morning before you go to sleep so you're not hungover the next day.
There's so often that the night shift worker starts preparing your order when he sees you walk in. He doesn't know your name. He just knows your bowl. In this city, that counts as a relationship.
You can ask him his name, bro. In fact, you should. As a foreigner, you're not under the same societal expectations per se. You still do have to be respectful and conform, but also people give you a lot more leeway because you're not Japanese and you never will be.
Loneliness hits around week 3. Not the dramatic, cinematic kind. The quiet kind. The kind that sits next to you on the train. Your co-workers at the school are friendly, but they clock out and disappear into their own lives. The other foreign teachers are either lifers who've been here so long they've forgotten what connection feels like.
This does happen to a couple people, but it was pretty rare. Who's this other guy?
Or short-termers who are leaving in 3 months and don't see the point in bonding.
You know, on the contrary, the short-termers in my experience are the most sociable because they're still on that novel high of being in Japan. When I studied abroad in Japan in my first semester, I was so sociable, you know, meet lots of people. Yeah, let's talk to people, let's make friends. Then I extended for another semester and then everybody went home from the first semester and a bunch of new people came. In the second semester, I was like, okay, I guess we'll try this again. Yeah, sure, we'll talk to people. And then they all disappeared again. And then the third semester started and I felt kind of alienated from that population because I felt like I was watching the same movie repeat again and again. Yeah, on the contrary, it is harder to bond after you've been there for longer for the 3-monthers.
You spend your evenings in your apartment scrolling through your phone, looking at photos of people back home living lives you chose to leave. Nobody texts you. You text nobody.
Okay, you can look at photos of people having fun without you, even if you're in the same neighborhood as them. For the record. Social media just does that, but
when you're awake, they're sleeping. When
so
they're
time
living,
difference, yes, this can be bad. My family's on the East Coast, which is more like 12, 13 hours, which actually makes the mornings and evenings line up pretty well. Because when I'm asleep, they're working. When they're working, I'm asleep. And then the mornings and evenings, you tend to be a little bit more free. So I actually didn't have many problems with time zone stuff.
You exist in a 12-hour gap between your old life and your new one, and neither side can reach the other. Your neighbor changes everything.
This is so real. The separation of realities is jarring. You have a world that you love that is on the opposite side of the same planet, but it doesn't feel like the same planet because our planet is so huge. We were never really supposed to be able to go to the other side of the planet in a single lifetime, okay? That's not a thing that humans have been able to do for all of time up until very recent history.
Your neighbor changes everything.
The neighbor.
His name is Yamamoto-san.
My goat.
He's in his 60s, retired, lives alone in the apartment next to yours. You meet him in the hallway during your second week.
It is the OG-chan, yo. It is the elderly people in Japan. I'm passionate about this. I've met a lot of lovely elderly people in Japan. This is a pretty lucky find, bro, right next to you in Tokyo.
Next to yours. You meet him in the hallway during your second week. You bow awkwardly and say the only Japanese phrase you've mastered. Sumimasen.
That'll get you everywhere.
He looks at you. And instead of the polite avoidance you've gotten from everyone else in the building, he smiles. Yamamoto-san becomes your anchor. He starts leaving small things at your door. Your conversations are 90% gestures and 10% broken language from both sides. Over the next few months, Yamamoto-san becomes the reason this city feels survivable. He introduces you to the neighborhood. He takes you to the local sentu, the public bathhouse, where old men soak in scalding water and discuss topics you can't follow, but the tone makes you feel included. He brings...
Yes, local sentos are great. I gotta highly recommend it. Oddly enough, you can meet people there. You can make friends in sentos. I've done it a couple times. Yeah, the best way to enjoying any neighborhood is to find out how people in the neighborhood enjoy the neighborhood. That takes you to the best place. Try to follow them because maybe they know what's up or maybe they don't. And if you don't like everyone else's daily life around you, then maybe that's not a good neighborhood for you. The Sento conversations don't make a lot of sense. I didn't understand when I didn't know Japanese, and now I know Japanese enough to kind of know what they're talking about. But listen, man, a lot of these guys have been friends for decades, and they're going to talk about stuff from any random time period, jumping around, and you have absolutely no context. So it's a lost cause, okay? Don't beat yourself up.
Brings you to the neighborhood Matsuri, the summer festival, where you eat yakitori and watch kids chase each other with sparklers. He corrects your Japanese with a patience that your
the festivals are dope. I love me a good local neighborhood festival. That's a great way to make friends. And if this guy was the least bit extroverted, I'm sure he would have made a couple of cool connections there. Because as a foreigner, you also stick out quite a bit if you show up at a very local event, particularly guided by like a lovely Oji-chan right here, as you see. This guy acts as your entry ticket, and the fact that you are standing next to him and people see you being shown around by him, that is a bit of a rite of passage to talk to people, if you want.
And you realize loneliness doesn't need a translator. You start building something that almost feels like a life. The elderly woman named Suzuki-san brings you homemade cookies every Tuesday and tells you your Japanese accent is charming, which you know is a polite lie, but you take the compliment anyway. You develop
let it fuel your ego to keep trying, okay? And then eventually you start getting real compliments.
Routine. It's small. It's quiet, but it starts to feel like yours. 8 months in, and you've almost forgotten
the rhythm, bro. It's about getting in the rhythm.
Forgotten what 8 months in?
8.
Is a
8's a
renewal.
lot.
You apply for a visa renewal. Your school sponsors it.
Yeah.
The paperwork is a mountain of
huge.
forms that he smiles and says something you translate later. He said he hopes you stay for a long time.
The not understanding what they said, so you like write it down in some like broken hiragana or whatever, and then try to find out what the words and reverse engineer it later on your phone. Very real. Very real.
Start looking at slightly bigger apartments in the same neighborhood because you can't imagine living anywhere else.
The attachment to your once boring neighborhood also very real.
We even look into community Japanese classes at the ward office.
Finally.
You're not just surviving anymore.
It took you 8 months to do that, dude?
The letter arrives on a Tuesday. Government envelope.
Oh boy.
You open it, expecting your visa approval. Instead, it's a notice to appear at the Tokyo Regional Immigration Bureau for an interview regarding your residential status. Suspected violation of conditions of stay. Your blood drops 10 degrees. You haven't violated anything. You work at a licensed school. You pay your taxes. You go to the interview. Then he asks if you've been engaged in any work outside your visa's authorized scope.
Japan's very serious about this, guys. You gotta be real careful.
You say, no. He slides a document across the table. It's a report. An anonymous tip filed with Immigration Services alleging that you've been conducting private English lessons for cash payments outside your contracted school. The report is detailed.
Yeah, and the reason why is because the idea is that your work contract should be providing enough money for you to live on. So the question that the government asks is why? Why do you need to work more to make more money? You should be receiving enough to live on from the company you're already with. I know because I have spoken to an immigration officer about this, trying to figure out why the heck I cannot bend the rules a little bit more.
It lists times, dates, and descriptions of students entering your apartment building in the evenings. The students, of course, don't exist. Nobody has entered your apartment, except...
For the record, I have seen this video once before, about half an hour ago. That's why I'm not reacting so crazy to it. Also, I wouldn't do that anyway.
You and one person. The person who would have seen your door from his door. The person who knows your schedule. You ask him directly, in the best Japanese you can manage, if he reported you. He simply explains, in a calm and measured tone, that the ward office offers a civic cooperation and incentive for residents who report immigration violations. It's not much. About 30,000 yen per verified report. He's filed 4. One every 2 months since you moved in. 120,000 yen. That's roughly $800. He sold your trust for $800. Every mandarin, every miso...
So, although I don't think this example is super realistic, let's get at what the message is below it, which is watch who you trust. Watch who you put your trust in. In a foreign country, your base is very fragile, and it's easy for you to get the rug pulled out from underneath you. And so you have to be really mindful of how you spend your time and how you invest your time into the connections of the people around you, which is a really valuable lesson to learn that you can take with you into your independent life anywhere in the world. It's just that when you're in a foreign country, it turns up the pressure a little bit because it's the constant idea looming over you of the government wants to know why you have to be here. Why do you need to be here? Whereas when you're back in your home country, you don't feel that pressure so much. Well, hopefully you don't.
And the room has 8 months of a life that's about to be erased. Your school tries to support you, but the bureaucratic machinery doesn't care about character references. It cares about documentation, and the documentation says there are 4 filed reports from a Japanese citizen with no prior false claims. Your word against his. Except it's not your word against his. It's a foreigner's word against a citizen's word. And in that equation, the math was decided before you walked into the room.
This is kind of true. I'll say is all it takes is a couple foreigners to ruin the reputation of foreigners in a certain country. And that unfortunately has happened in Japan. And now you have to earn your trust. You do. You got to understand that foreigners in a country can behave really strangely, and I saw this time and time again studying abroad. When you're in a foreign country, you might feel like your actions don't have consequences, or you can do whatever you want, or you can finally make some crazy change to your life that you for some reason couldn't make when you were at home in your home country, and that causes a lot of chaos. It can cause crimes to be occurred without you even trying, or without you thinking that you would get in trouble. And governments don't like to deal with that. So, yeah, foreigners kind of crazy. You really got to prove yourself to be a stable person. Because, to be fair, moving to a country on the opposite side of the planet it might not always be the most stable decision to make. They might be in the same position as this lovely man right here in his 20s, as I was as well.
You pack your suitcase. Except now it's heavier, because it contains 8 months of accumulated things that meant something. A Japanese textbook with notes in the margins, a festival charm from the Matsuri. The chopsticks Yamamoto-san gave you on your birthday. You hold the chopsticks for a moment, and then you put them in the trash. You leave the furniture...
I saw one comment that said that you should put the chopsticks at Yamamoto-san's door, which could be fitting. I will say, one time, a Japanese friend who was really mad at me gave me back everything I'd ever given them. It is a really great way to tell somebody that you don't care about them and everything they ever gave you, they now view as worthless.
You walk, and you realize the cruelest thing about Tokyo isn't the loneliness or the language barrier or the cost or the bureaucracy. It's that the city let you love it. It let you build something. It let you feel the specific warmth of belonging that only exists when you've earned it from scratch in a place that owes you nothing. And then it let one man...
Whether that's true or not, the fact that you'll feel this way is totally real, like the me versus the city kind of feeling. It may sound like I'm upset with the guy or thinking like he could have done better in this scenario. That's actually just me being upset at myself for ways in which I did not take better advantage of my opportunities when I did this same exact thing.
You take the Narita Express the next morning. You sit in the window seat and watch Tokyo shrink behind you. Your mom picks you up at the airport. She hugs you and says she's glad you got that out of your system. She means it with love, but it hits like a verdict. That's what it was to everyone back home. A phase. Something you needed to flush out before you came back and got serious.
Because what were the odds you were actually going to live there your whole life, dude? Come on, let's be real. But your full-on commitment to the idea was essential in order for you to actually go out there and do that. And that's not something you're going to have when you get older. That sort of willingness to take risks is part of what gets you out there, having some really random experiences in your 20s. You can get hurt, but you can also get some really cool dad lore.
Nobody asks about Yamamoto-san. Nobody asks about the Matsuri, or the Sentu, or the beef bowl worker who knew your order. Nobody asks because none of it registers as real to people who've never tried to build a life somewhere that wasn't designed for them.
There are lots of people that might resonate with what you experienced. You lived in a country where you felt like you might not be welcome, or you felt like the odd one out. There are lots of people, maybe not in your immediate neighborhood or your immediate vicinity, but in your country, people who might feel that way. There might be lots of people who are that foreigner who came to your country to stay there now, and now you can use this experience as a special way to connect with people just a little bit more, because you have experienced just a little bit about what they may be going through, potentially feeling like an outsider in society, all of these things that can make people feel different from one another. With your experience, you can now connect with people more. That's how I look at it, at least.
The apartment in Kita Senju sits empty. The landlord cleans it out in a single afternoon. The poster comes down. The table gets donated.
They're highlighting the brutality of your room getting cleaned out after you leave, but that happens in your life after you die. Okay, your stuff will go away. You experience a mini version of that by living a bubble of a life in a foreign country, and I think that's a really valuable perspective to witness about life, that it happens and then you disappear. Seeing this happen makes you less materialistic. That's what I'm trying to say. I feel like I'm trying to explain why this experience was valuable for our protagonist. I feel like I want to give him a hug, you know?
The story you just heard is fiction. I've got more stories like this coming, so hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. See you in the next one.
Super cool animation, very interesting story, although fictional. There are crazy stories like this. Lots of crazy things happen when you try to live in a foreign country. Thanks for hanging out. Comment down below what your experience has been. As for me, I'm going to continue enjoying my vacation, and I'm going to eat this sandwich. Peace out, stay hydrated, and thank you for 10 plus years on YouTube. I can't believe it. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Yo, thank you for 500 subscribers. I hit 500 subscribers like 9 years ago, but I actually hit it again because you're unsubscribing. So I think if you could all unsubscribe today and then subscribe again next week, we can hit 500 again and we can celebrate the milestone again. Thank you.